I hope you had a wonderful and relaxing evening. It's our second day of the formal part of the Rosenberg Forum. As it was yesterday, there are some excellent talks arranged, and Lucia will be chairing the first session, and she will set the rules and the disciplines required to make sure we stay within the time limits, right? And for that reason, I will have Lucia to start without any delays.
Thank you, Surush. So good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good night of sleep. So we will all keep active and awake during this session. So this session, as you can see from the program, the title is Water Productivity, Positive and Negative Impacts. And we will have 4 speakers. The first one will be Dr. Zekri, who is professor at the Department of Natural Resources Economics at Sultan Qaboos University in Oman. And he will focus on the challenges of ensuring water resources in areas that are very scarce in terms of water, natural water. And he will talk also about the economics around that. I will present all of them. Then the following speech, no, but you can say, sorry, Slim. The following talk would be by Donoso, Dr. Donoso, professor of water economics at Pontificia Universidad Católica in Chile. And he will talk about groundwater regulation mailing, and we will find out more about that, in particular in Chile. Then the third speaker will be a new addition, last minute addition, because the original speaker couldn't come, but I think we are going to have a very good deal in this change, because Julia helped us to contact a person that is with the Water Resources Group here in Cape Town. His name is Michael Webster. I think he will arrive soon, and he will talk about the water supply system, domestic water supply system here in Cape Town, and in particular of the famous Day Zero, how all that happened and was handled with. And finally, the session will be closed by Dr. Rulli, who is professor at Politecnico di Milano in Italy. He's professor of hydrology and water and food security. And he will talk about, her talk will be, the title is Sustainable and Equitable Use of Water for Food Production. So it's a bit different than what appears in the title, but actually the content is more or less around that. So the speakers have 20 minutes, and then we will have 5 minutes for questions. I will monitor the time and make sure that we'll try to make sure that we stay on time. So Nazlim, thank you. Please, you can start.
Good morning, everybody. So I have been following your recommendation to adopt new technology. So, okay, so I'm here to talk about topics related to the Middle East and Northern Africa, where I'm going to talk about the major problems and some of the solutions we have been working on the last 10 years. So essentially, I'm going to talk about the role of water pricing, then wastewater reuse, water markets and transfers, environmental costs related to desalination, and urban water security. And as you will see, these topics are quite interrelated with one another. So I'm trying to show the link between these different topics. So I'm going to start with the issue of water pricing. And as economists, we still have to do a lot of work, because in many countries, water prices are still below cost. And it's not only in developing countries, it's even in developed countries. So you can see that in the United States, for instance, 80% of Americans pay less than what the water cost is. In Tunisia, for instance, consumers pay 70% of the cost. And the most important thing is that people think that by subsidizing water, they're helping the poor, but in many cases, most of the subsidy goes to the wealthy people and the above middle class people. In Oman, for instance, we are spending $300 million as subsidy every single year. And this is also major part of it goes up to the wealthiest, not to those who deserve to be subsidized. So there is a problem of water pricing and there is a problem of targeting the subsidies. But essentially, the problem is when you have a water price which is below the cost, what is happening and what has been the observation in relation to that. So for instance, when you look to the leakages in these Mediterranean countries, leakages are between 35 to 25 to 20% of the water that is put in the pipes, which is water of very high quality, very expensive because it has been treated, pressurized, and it ends up in leakages. So this is a major problem. But above that, you have also a problem of corrosion of the pipes, and this corrosion degrades quality. And then if you add to that the issue of climate change in Tunisia, the last 3 years, we have had 3 consecutive years of drought. And the consequence of that is the level of the dam went to 20%. And if it was not for the storm that came in May, we would have had serious problems of water services in Tunisia. So now the issue of the level of dam going very down is also affecting the water quality provided to the people because it is mixed with the mud and it has a smell and it has an odor and affects the quality. So now, given that most of the utilities are not recovering costs, they are struggling in terms of maintaining the infrastructure and providing quality water to the citizens. So in the absence of this collective action, which is what the utility is public utilities owned by the people. So when these utilities are unable to solve the problem or address the problem, people react. And how they do react? The first thing, those who have the money, they would buy water purifiers and install water purifiers at home, but this involves a heavy investment at the beginning. But most of the people are reacting by buying bottled water. And then buying bottled water has a lot of implications in terms of welfare and in terms of cost of water for the people. So I'm just gonna show you, for instance, this is the average water bill for a Tunisian family with the lowest income. It's 32 dinars. I'm not talking about Ariel. It's 32 dinars of money. Yeah. So 32 dinars is like $32, okay? But now, because they have to buy bottled water, they end up spending another 25 dinars per month. And this brings their spending in terms of water to 8%. Now, if you look to the highest income, they are paying something around 46 dinars and 55 dinars. So it's 1.5% of their income going to water expenditure. So this is an extremely important issue that we have to address, that water utilities have to improve the service, and by that they are going to be more fair to the population, because the wealthy can always afford solutions and individual solutions. And most importantly, what is important here is the fact that collective solutions are much cheaper and much more efficient than individual solutions. I'm not talking about the environmental costs of bottled water. You know, at global level, we are talking about 1 million plastic bottles per minute, which is 1.5 billion bottles a day of plastic bottles. So that's another cost which is not considered here. And there is another cost also, because when you want to buy bottled water, you have to drive and you have to take your car. So you are creating other expenditures and pollution, etc. But here we are talking about only part of the costs that citizens have to pay to adjust to deteriorated water quality, which is mainly due to low maintenance, but also the climate change is there and is affecting that. So we have to work on that. Okay. The next topic I want to talk about is the reuse of treated wastewater. We're still having very low rates of reuse of treated wastewater despite the water scarcity. And the issue is that this wastewater is often available where it is not needed. In other terms, it's not available where farmers need it. So often it is in large cities, far from farms, and bringing that water up to the farms is quite expensive and quite costly. And we are not doing that infrastructure. And every time we are planning for a wastewater treatment plant, we are just thinking about to treat the water, but we have never thought about what to do with that water. So fundamentally, in water scarce countries, we have been building dams for decades. And these dams are built using public money. Yet we have water which is often good quality, which is going to the sea, which is not being used in even very scarce environment. So 20% of it is used in North Africa, and less than that is used in some of the countries, in the GCC countries, where really water is extremely scarce. And all of this is because of the lack of understanding that we need to support and to think about the whole package, not just building a wastewater treatment plant, but also how to transfer that water from where it is and bring it to where the farmers are. Of course, the farmers cannot afford paying the full cost of that, and that's why we need some public intervention here in terms of paying the cost of infrastructure, and then farmers would be able to pay the operating management costs. We have done a study on the willingness to pay for farmers, and we have found that really they are able and they are willing to pay at least the operating management cost, but it would not be economically feasible for them to pay the full cost of water. So that's one important thing also to keep in mind, and to understand that this wastewater is not contingent on climate conditions, while reservoirs and dams are contingent on droughts. So these volumes of water are available every day and every year, and we don't have any problem of fluctuations of this availability. Now, the third topic is related to water transfer and watermarks and virtual water. So essentially, we are still using a lot of water in MENA countries and GCC countries for agricultural purposes, while we are getting more and more dependent on desalination for urban purposes. So, for instance, you take the case of Algeria. Algiers depends totally on desalinations. Half billion cubic meter a day of water desalinated to provide for the drinking water, while you have fresh water, and this fresh water is going for agriculture. The same is happening in Oman, for instance. 96% of the urban water is desalinated water, while you have water which is available and good quality, but its going priorities is for agriculture because it has been there for agricultural purposes. So essentially here, the idea is we are working on a topic where we are trying to find a solution where we transfer the fresh water, high quality fresh water from the agricultural sector, and then the water utility sells the water to the farmers. So it's tertiary treated water, which is high quality, but yet we have to create that market. So the water utility should be buying water from farmers, and then the farmers should be buying lower water quality from the water utility. And this is something we are talking about. But we also have to think about this issue of groundwater, because we think locally, but it has implications at the global level. Let me give you the example of Al-Mara'i dairy company, which is a very large dairy company in Saudi Arabia. And when they started producing forages in Saudi Arabia, and then they saw that the groundwater levels has fallen down. Then they started buying fodder crop from California, and then then the drought came to California, and then they moved to Arizona, where they are based on groundwater for production of fodder crops. And then this year, there has been a court decision to stop the production of fodder in Arizona because it's water, Arizona's water being transferred indirectly to Saudi Arabia. So people are complaining because they have an issue of groundwater. So the problem of feed and fodder is becoming really a wide problem and interconnected. So we cannot address it from one side and we forget what was going to happen on the other sides. So complications are there. So the other point I would like to stress also that we need to produce more with less water or with the same water, so improving efficiency. But at the same time, what we need is to reduce food demand. And food demand can be reduced because there is a lot of food waste going on in the MENA countries. And this food waste is fundamentally due to price distortions related to cereals, very low prices for cereals, bread, rice. And in Oman, we have estimated the food waste at 40% of the plate, and that's horrible, and it's too much. And to fix that, we have to fix the prices for the food, to remove the distortions, and to target the subsidies for the people who need to be subsidized because they have low income. But allowing subsidy for each and everyone is no longer a solution. It has a lot of implications in terms of water demand. So this is one example we are working on in terms of transfer of water. So we have a city of Nizwa here, which is located 180 kilometers from the coast. And this is a desalination plant. It's level 0. This city is located 700 meters above the sea level. And then this city used to have only groundwater for drinking purposes in the past. But since the oil boom in the 80s, 90s, demand for water has grown up. And then they decided to bring water from a desalination plant located on the coast. And the cost of bringing that water is around $5. While we have water available in the city, very good quality water, mineral water, which is going to the agricultural sector. So the project we are working on is to try to create a market where the farmers sell their water to the water utility, and then they would buy the water from the wastewater treatment plant. So economically, when I present this, to people, they say, okay, it is easy to do from an economic perspective, but when it comes to reality, it's going to be very difficult. But the point is that we have to look into the details of the economic aspect of it, and then the social aspect can be addressed. And then the social aspect can be addressed by the market first. If you give incentives for people to sell the high quality water at a good price, and then they are going to make money out of that, then there is an incentive. But if you are just going to tell them, okay, give me your water and I give you a water of lower quality, that will never work. So we are trying to work on a system where it's going to be based on solar energy, so to avoid using fossil fuels, etc. So it's integrated water energy nexus, and the purpose is to bring less water from the coastal line and use better quality groundwater available for drinking purposes. Now, the environmental impact of desalination are ignored by many people. Let me give you the example of GCC countries where most of the water is coming from the Gulf Sea. And the Gulf Sea, you have 6 countries pumping water, seawater, to desalinate. So for every 1 million cubic meter of water you are producing, you pump 2.5 million cubic meters of seawater on a single day. So you take 1 million, you return back 1.5 million, which is high salt concentrated and hot water. And this is really creating a lot of damages to the environment. And the damages of the to the environment are really serious and already observable. But by 2050, it is going to be a significant impact on species, on biodiversity, on fisheries productivity, and coastal communities. And it is predicted that the Gulf Sea will not be able to provide abundant natural resources in the future. And because economic diversification assumes that people are going to be less dependent on oil and gas production, and they will have to shift to services, and they will have to base their economies on the Gulf Sea by providing tourism activities, etc. But this is not going to happen under the question of environmental pollution by the brine. Now, the question of pollution by brine is quite important, and it is very costly to solve. So desalinating 1 cubic meter of water is $1, but getting rid of the brine it costs $5. So if we include the environmental cost in desalination, then desalination it's already a very expensive alternative, but if we include the desalination cost into it, it's going to be extremely expensive. But we have to find solutions for that. And for that, there has to be a reduction of per capita water demand. Consumption of water is around 250 liters per capita per day in the GCC countries. Is extremely high compared to the 90 liters per capita per day, the world average. But if we compare GCC countries to MENA countries, 250, 120, it's still very high. So the first thing to do is to reduce per capita water demand, and then reducing per capita water demand would require changing the water pricing system and changing the water price. Then the reuse of water at household level, gray water is one very important option to undertake. For outdoor uses, it's extremely possible and feasible, and it is recommendable also. So this would put down the demand on desalination. Recycling water also for other uses of the city, instead of washing the cars with the highly desalinated water. So it could be used by providing treated wastewater, changing the regulations, using renewables, and fundamentally research should be focused not only on the desalination part, but also on how to deal with the brine and reduce the environmental impacts. All right, to finish, I'm going to talk about the issue of integrated management of groundwater and desalinated water. So desalination plants produce water based on a contract, and the contract is called take or pay. Take or pay. What does that mean, take or pay? So the government, when the government establishes a contract with a desalination water company, so they agree on the volume of water that is going to be taken every day. And they agree on that maximum volume. Often the country agrees on the maximum volume because you don't want to interrupt your water services. So given the climate, we have winter and summer. So in summer, you are using the maximum volume, but in winter, you are using much less than that. So 70% of that or 80% of that. So you have 20% of the desalinated water that you pay, but you don't use. So if you don't want to use, you have to tell the company, okay, I am going to take only 80%, but you still have to pay the 20%. You pay 85% of the 20%. So you are paying, in other terms, because just saving 15% of the cost. But in other terms, you are losing a lot of water that you are not using properly. So we came up with a solution to take this water in winter, to inject it into aquifers and provide it during the peak periods. So this would play several roles. The first role is that we are increasing the water security of the country. We are saving water for the water utility. And essentially, in future plans, when you plan for desalination plants, you don't need to plan for the peak demand because you already have storage that would allow you bring down that peak. So we have done this work in Oman, and we worked with one single aquifer, and we have been able to save $17 million per year for the country. And now Oman is doing it for all the desalination plants on the coastal line, and they started the work already. So then we move it to Qatar, because Qatar is another example, is a bit more complicated than Oman. They do have one single aquifer, and they have 162 million cubic meters of water that are paid every year, and they are not taken by the water utility. And this is costing them $137 million. Now, in Qatar, they do have only 7 days of water security. So we came in and we said, okay, let's see what we can do. And essentially, we proposed to them a solution which is going to be much more efficient than what they are doing. They have built a reservoir which has costed them concrete reservoir, which has costed them $4.5 billion. And it's only for 27 days of water security. So we are coming up with a solution. I don't have time, but this is the approach we are using. So the solution is fundamentally to use the aquifer for storage, and this is going to help them move from 7 days to 73 days, and save a lot of money that is going to be wasted. So that's all I have to tell you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Adim. This is very interesting in terms of how to maximize the use of that desalination plants that, in fact, if they are not used, they just sit there and produce cost rather than not water. So are there a couple of burning questions? 1, 2, okay. There are so many, so I just picked 1 and 2. Oh, sorry. He was standing, so we already didn't start well. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we need the microphone.
Let me do it.
Actually, his was up.
Is this working? Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Zekri. My question is about what you explained about the impact of desalination on where you send out the brines. The situation is different in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, I believe, because the Persian Gulf is not actually an ocean. It's not a part of, it's just a very deep valley, but the Sea of Oman is connected to the Indian Ocean. If the government of Oman desalinates water in the Sea of Oman and then sends it down there, what are the differences of its impact on the environment?
It's actually, I'm talking about the Arabian Gulf. I have in mind.
Oh, it's very low.
So the issue I present is related to the Arabian Gulf, where you have 6 companies pumping water from that Arabian Gulf, bringing back the brine to that area. I'm not talking about Oman, because Oman does have coast on the Indian Ocean, and does have the other places we have to desalinate. But the issue is with the other countries, the other Gulf countries. Yeah.
Now Iran is starting to desalinate.
It's already there. Iran is already desalinating.
It's starting. So the things will get worse in the Persian Gulf.
So yeah, Shiraz is one of the cities that is desalinating water from the Arabian Gulf.
Thank you.
A second.
This is a question, but also a suggestion. I have learned from Guillermo about farmer behavior and their enormous risk, and how security is very much a driver of their decision making. And this water transfer from farmers to utilities introduces an enormous increase in insecurity. So, and price will not do anything about that. You're not going to get them to do it for price. You've got to address two additional questions. And one is control. And control means that you need to be able to let them say, I don't like this, I'm going to quit. Now, you might do that by limiting the time of your contract so that they can cancel them at a particular time. Also, they've got to trust you, because if they don't think you're going to do what they want, they're not going to play with you. So my question is, what are you doing for those specific things? And money won't do it. So don't answer that way.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, we are doing it in a better way. Indeed, what we are trying to do is to create two markets. The first market is to buy from farmers, and the second market is to sell to the farmers. So, I'm coming. So the security is that we are not going to take water out of the agricultural sector. So whatever we are taking out, we are bringing back. So the security is still there. So it's not that we are going to transfer water from agriculture to urban uses without replacement. So it's a substitution in this case. We are just telling farmers, give me your high quality fresh water. I'm giving you back lower quality. So it is the same volume of water which is going to be taken out and which is going to be returned in terms of lower quality wastewater, tertiary treated wastewater, which is available and good quality, and they can use it for all crops, including vegetables, because we are talking about tertiary treated, not secondary treated. So this issue of security, it's well addressed. Thank you.
Can I just make an intervention?
Please, yeah.
In Israel, for example, has been practiced for many years, and farmers are compensated by getting more wastewater per 1 unit of fresh water that they give up on.
Yeah, and what we want to do is it's a monetary transfer in this case.
Sorry, I am. Since many people raise their hand at the same time, what I will do is I will try to make sure that people that maybe have talked less yesterday have the opportunity to talk. So if who wants to talk would like to put their name holder up so that I get an idea.
Please.
Yeah, please. And sorry for those who won't have the word, but I would like everyone to be able to say something.
Thank you, Dr. Zekri. I was wondering, you just mentioned that there's a barrier of public investment in the conveyance facility for treated wastewater. I was wondering, besides that, for instance, do farmers have concerns using treated water? Are there any other factors contributing to the lack of investment in the delivering facilities here?
Well, we worked with farmers on this issue, and we did a survey and asked them whether they will be taking treated wastewater or not. And the issue is that if you are providing treated wastewater, which is higher quality than the groundwater, we are talking on the coastal areas. So the coastal areas are affected by a seawater intrusion problem, and some salinity is growing up there. So if you provide the farmer with a high quality water at a reasonable price, they will pay. And that's what we had found in forensic. We had done a study in 2016, and farmers are welcoming the idea, but what they cannot pay is the price. The government is putting a very high price. They are putting a price like 80 cents per cubic meter, and farmers said, okay, at 80 cents, I cannot make any money. So if you give me the water at 15 cents, I would take it, but not at 80 cents. So we have to understand that in water scarce countries, farmers are not opposing the use of treated wastewater. That's a fact. The issue that we have been talking about, farmers' willingness to use treated wastewater and they are reluctant, no, it does not exist. wherever you have scarcity, wherever you have good quality water, farmers are taking it. And reasonable prices where they can make some money.
Okay, thank you. I think we have to finish, and I hope we were able to take this. Also, the other be able to speak in the round of discussion. But we need to move to the next speaker. Yes.
And we can, I can
Sorry
respond to
about
all
that.
your questions. Okay.